Have you ever walked into a room and felt something was missing, even though everyone was right there? You look into your child's eyes, or your grandchild's, and suddenly there's a silence that doesn't come from peace, but from distance. You remember when their face used to light up at the sound of your voice. Now, it's as if something's gone quiet inside them. And you ask yourself, what changed? Did I do something wrong? Or maybe the question is even harder. Why do I feel like I've lost their respect and their warmth? If that's a feeling you've known, you're not alone. Many of us, especially in our later years, begin to notice these subtle shifts. We raised our children, or helped raise theirs. We gave our time, our love, sometimes our patience, and yet something unspoken has pulled the connection apart. But here's the truth. That bond is not broken. It's just hidden beneath layers of misunderstanding, emotional defenses, and silent wounds. And the good news is, it can be rebuilt, not with grand speeches or authority, but with subtle, powerful behaviors that speak to the heart of the child's inner world. Today, we're going to talk about how to gently restore that bridge of respect and reconnection, not by controlling your child or correcting them, but by reaching them where it matters most, through their emotional core. Not by theory or force, but through deep human understanding. Children are not just mini adults. They are beings full of unconscious longing for security, recognition, and being truly seen. And we, as the elders in their lives, can help fulfill those needs in ways that are healing for both them and ourselves. Let's begin with something you might not expect. Silence. Not the cold kind that keeps people apart, but the warm kind that says, I'm here and I'm listening. Sometimes the most powerful way to restore connection with a child isn't by saying the right thing, but by creating a space where they feel safe enough to speak. This kind of silence is like a soft chair. They can sink into it slowly, without pressure. Try it. Next time you're with them, hold eye contact just a little longer. Let your body soften. Let your presence say, you matter to me, even if you don't have the words right now. You'd be surprised how even a child who's pulled away starts to come back, not out of obligation, but because they feel emotionally welcomed. When we allow for this kind of listening, something inside the child begins to shift. Their inner defenses, those little walls built from misunderstandings and unmet needs, start to lower. And in that space, we begin to earn, not demand, their respect again. Because to a child, being heard is the first sign that they're valued. It touches their ego, their unconscious, their sense of self. And that's where real connection starts to grow again. Now let's talk about another habit that's easy to overlook but deeply meaningful: honoring their effort, not just their outcomes. How often do we say, good job, when a child gets an A or wins a game? But what about when they tried something hard and didn't succeed? What about the drawing they crumpled up because it wasn't perfect? Or the chore they almost finished but got distracted? When we acknowledge effort, we send a message deeper than praise. We say, what you do matters, but so does the heart you put into it. This kind of recognition nourishes a child's inner drive. It helps them feel that their path toward becoming autonomous, expressive, and confident is something we see and support. You might think these things are too subtle to matter, but let me tell you, they aren't. Think of your own life. How many of us are still carrying wounds from words not said or encouragements never given? That teacher who only noticed when we failed, that parent who only clapped when we won, it stays with us. And your child, no matter their age, carries those echoes too. When you start to notice and celebrate their trying, not just their triumphs, you begin to rewrite those inner scripts. You become the voice that says, you are enough, even when you fall short. And that brings us to something that may be the most vulnerable of all: sharing your own struggles. Most of us were raised to be strong, to keep things inside, to never show weakness. But when it comes to reconnecting with a child, letting them see your humanity might be the most healing thing you can do. You don't have to give a dramatic speech. It can be something simple. You know, when I was your age, I used to feel like I didn't matter either. Or, I remember a time I was really afraid and I didn't know how to say it. When a child hears that you've had fears too, that you've been uncertain, even broken sometimes, they stop seeing you as an unreachable figure. They see you as someone real, someone they can trust, someone who's not perfect, but present. And that's the foundation of respect. Not fear, but emotional truth. When they see your courage in admitting pain, they begin to find courage in sharing theirs. And that's where the magic starts. You begin to build a dialogue, not one based on correction or control, but on mutual reflection. You show them that emotions can be named, not buried. That pain can be shared, not hidden. And from there, you can gently create small rituals of emotional communication. Simple things. A note left on their desk that says, "I noticed you looked sad today." Or saying during a car ride, "Want to tell me one thing you felt today?" Just one. No judgment. These aren't just gestures. They're messages to the unconscious. You're not alone in this world. You're allowed to feel. And you're safe with me. As we continue this journey, remember this. Connection isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. It's about creating moments, not grand, but real, that speak to the heart of the child within your child. When you listen deeply, honor effort, and share your own truths, you're not just repairing a relationship, you're planting seeds of healing that may last their whole life. So, where do we go from here? Once you've started listening more and speaking from your truth, a subtle shift begins, like when a flower turns slightly toward the sun. But to keep that momentum alive, we need to deepen the connection through small, everyday rituals that tell the child, "You're safe. You matter. I'm still here." And one of the most powerful things you can do next is begin naming emotions. Not just yours, but theirs too. You might think children already know how they feel. But in truth, feelings are like storms inside them, loud, overwhelming, and often nameless. By putting words to those feelings, you offer them a kind of emotional compass. You say, "I see you." Try this. When a child slams the door or retreats into silence, don't immediately correct them. Instead, gently say, "I wonder if you felt hurt when that happened." Or, "It seems like you were embarrassed just now. Is that true?" These questions don't corner them, they invite them. And every time a feeling gets named instead of judged, it becomes less frightening. You're not just giving them vocabulary. You're helping them build an emotional language that will serve them for life. When feelings stay unspoken, they often become distorted, misunderstood, and repeated in harmful ways. But what's spoken, what's owned, can be transformed. And in your presence, with your support, that transformation begins. Once you've created this space of safety and emotional truth, it's time to weave in something beautiful. Intimate and symbolic rituals. These don't have to be complicated. It could be a gentle hand squeeze when saying goodbye, a secret handshake before bed, a shared drawing ritual where you each draw how your day felt. Children live in symbols. Their minds are alive with stories, images, and gestures. And when you speak their symbolic language, the bond between you becomes something magical and deeply rooted. The child begins to associate your presence with emotional security, not judgment or unpredictability. These rituals also carry another silent message: consistency. And consistency in a chaotic world is gold. Whether it's a bedtime whisper, a note in their lunchbox, or a ritual hug before they leave for school, these symbolic acts say, "I will be here, again and again." And the unconscious soaks that in like sunlight. But don't stop there. Go further. Let them see the map of your own childhood. Pull back the curtain just a little. Tell them about a time you felt excluded, or lost, or unsure. Describe how you handled it. maybe even how you didn't handle it well at first. This kind of storytelling is not just nostalgia, it's a bridge. A child sees themselves in your younger self. They begin to realize that their struggles are part of a greater human experience, and you're living proof that survival and growth are possible. This is where something powerful comes to life. You give them a mirror and a future at once. You show that the very feelings they're having now, fear, shame, excitement, even rebellion, were once yours too. And somehow, here you are, on the other side of it. That alone can restore not only their respect for you, but for themselves. Because if you once struggled and grew, then maybe they can too. Now the next step may sound like play, but it's far more profound. Awaken their imagination. Children process the world through creativity long before they do through logic. Invite them to draw an iceberg and talk about what feelings float above the surface and which stay hidden below. Create a shadow show with a flashlight and let them tell you what the figures represent. Ask, "What's one thing you dreamt last night?" And then share one of your dreams in return. This kind of play isn't trivial, it's therapeutic. It touches the unconscious. It gives permission to express, to wonder, to not be judged. You're creating emotional symbols together, and that process builds connection faster than any lecture or lesson ever could. Childhood itself is rich with symbols, with imagination, with unspoken feelings. Meet them there, and you meet them where they truly live. From there, begin to introduce something so simple and yet so powerful: shared care. Choose something small, a plant, a pet, even a morning chore, and make it yours together. Let them help you water the flowers. Let them sprinkle food into the fishbowl. Don't make it a task. Make it a ceremony. Each gesture becomes a sign. We're partners in something. And that's the key to reconnection. Not dominance, not authority, but partnership. It tells the child, "Your presence here matters. I trust you. I believe in your care." And this care, this joint effort, plants respect like a seed in the soil of everyday life. In those moments, brushing a leaf together, laughing over a tiny spill, catching each other's eyes in a silent agreement, you're not just doing a task. You're repairing something ancient. You're saying, "You and I are part of the same emotional world. I'm not here to tower over you, I'm here to walk beside you." And to take that one step deeper, invite the child into stillness. This may be the most foreign and yet most essential ritual of all in today's world. Imagine both of you sitting quietly, maybe under a tree, maybe on the living room carpet, just breathing. Let them place their hand on their chest and feel their heart. Join them. Say nothing. Just be there. Let them know that silence is not punishment, but presence. That it's safe. That you're not afraid of what lives inside it. Stillness teaches emotional regulation. It aligns body and mind. And when done together, it connects unconscious to unconscious in ways words never could. It's a return to the core, to being. And in that being, a child rediscovers trust. Let all of this happen gradually. There's no rush. Respect is not a switch you flip. It's a bond you water. With listening, with ritual, with empathy. With stories and symbols and shared moments that ask nothing but offer everything. By now, you might be feeling something stir inside you. Maybe a memory, maybe a quiet realization. That restoring respect with a child or grandchild isn't about earning back control, but about meeting them again, soul to soul. When we begin with listening, when we speak from our own emotional truths, and when we invite them into rituals of presence, something inside them opens. But to truly nurture this bond, we must also teach them how to stand tall within themselves. And that means guiding them toward responsibility, confidence, and emotional maturity, one shared moment at a time. A beautiful way to deepen this is through co-creating meaning. Let's say you and your grandchild are folding laundry together, or preparing a meal. In that moment, hold up an object, a spoon, a towel, a piece of fruit, and ask, "What does this remind you of?" It's not about the answer. It's about the question. That curiosity creates a pause, a sacred moment of reflection. It teaches the child, even unconsciously, that their thoughts have value, and it helps them connect symbols to feelings. Over time, this practice gives them permission to express what they never knew they were allowed to say. Right after that, try something subtle but transformative: emotional reflection. When the child shares something, anything, mirror it back to them in your own words. Say, "So you felt nervous when your teacher looked at you?" Or, "You got really excited when your drawing turned out just right?" These small responses carry huge emotional weight. It's not about praise, it's about being seen. And for a child's developing self-image, being seen is what anchors them in self-respect. They begin to believe, if someone understands me, maybe I can understand myself. And then invite them into the experience of shared decision-making, even if it's symbolic. Let them choose a ritual that belongs to both of you. A secret handshake. A goodbye gesture. A phrase you only use with each other. This little private language becomes a sanctuary. It creates a space where mutual values live and grow. It makes the bond feel sacred, without ever needing to say the word. Now here's something that may surprise you: admiration. Not just from them to you, but from you to them. Pick a quality you truly admire in your child or grandchild. Maybe it's their sense of humor, their artistic spirit, their quiet strength. And when you tell them, make it feel like a celebration. Not sarcastic or casual, but sincere and big. "You know, I really admire how brave you are. I wish I'd been that brave when I was your age." That kind of statement doesn't just boost confidence. It tells the child, "I see the best in you, and I'm not afraid to say it." That's respect too. And it inspires them to offer it back. Now gently move into the world of story, your story. Pull out a memory, something small but real. A time you doubted yourself. A time you felt rejected. Don't sugarcoat it. Share how you felt and how you eventually made it through. You might think they'll tune it out, but they won't. Stories have power. They give children an emotional blueprint. And when you tell your truth, you're offering more than entertainment. You're giving them a path, a lighted trail through the dark woods of their own uncertainties. Afterward, bring things back to the present by creating a grounding ritual. Maybe every morning you have a short breakfast together. Or maybe it's a quiet moment before bed where you each write a note and place it under a pillow. These tiny rituals become anchors. They don't just create structure, they offer emotional safety. They tell the child, even when life gets busy, there's a place for us. A space where love lives every single day. And in that safe space, boundaries come naturally. You don't have to shout or scold. You simply say, "Now it's time to rest." Or, "Let's put that away for now," with warmth but clarity. When boundaries are wrapped in connection, they feel like protection, not punishment. The child begins to trust both their desires and the guidance they're given. They start to understand that structure is not a threat to freedom, but its very foundation. Then, when it's time to part, maybe just for the day, don't underestimate the power of a meaningful farewell. Look into their eyes. Offer a simple, shared gesture. It could be a fist bump, a forehead kiss, or just a moment of stillness with your hands together. That goodbye isn't just a routine. It's a promise. It says, "Our bond continues, even when we're apart." You can deepen that message by telling a story about when you were young and afraid of being left alone. Talk about how you got through it and how you found strength in unexpected places. You're not just comforting them. You're giving them tools, emotional inheritance, inner maps for survival. And don't forget the magic of the unexpected. A note in their backpack, a sticker on their mirror, a treat hidden in a shoe with a loving message. These surprise moments release joy, and the brain remembers them. It links your presence to delight, not just discipline. At night, return to quiet. Light a candle. Share a few seconds of silence together. Ask them softly, if you could dream about anything tonight, what would it be? Let the answer float in the stillness. Then, when they draw their dream or describe it in the morning, you'll know you've entered the most sacred place of all, their imagination. That's where respect and trust live at their deepest level. And from there, it's all about walking beside them. Guide them to draw a safe zone, on paper, in their mind, in their room. Somewhere they can return to when life feels heavy. Then talk about the future. A little trip you'll take. A recipe you'll cook. A book you'll read. These projected joys remind them that the bond doesn't end today. It grows with time. Respect is not a transaction. It's a tapestry. Every thread, a glance, a touch, a pause, a word, woven slowly, carefully, over time. And the final thread? Your own willingness to be led. Let the child guide you across the room with just a touch on your hand. Let them be the teacher once in a while. Trust builds when roles reverse, and the child realizes they are capable of guiding, not just being guided. In the end, you'll find that something extraordinary has happened. Not only have you restored your child's respect, you've rekindled your own sense of purpose. You've created a space where two hearts can beat in rhythm, where vulnerability becomes strength, and where silence becomes the most profound kind of love. If any part of this journey spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video to mark your moment of connection. Share in the comments a ritual or story that resonated with you. And subscribe to this channel, Strong Elderly Life, where we honor not just growing older, but growing wiser, stronger, and more connected than ever. Here's to the quiet gestures that speak the loudest. Here's to you, and to the child who still believes in you, even when they don't yet know how to show it. You're doing more than enough, and the journey is only beginning.